Hey, everyone. Welcome. Happy Monday. Hope everybody's having a great day today. Let's move that back a little bit so you can actually see my face. Not that you need to see my face. I don't think my face is important in any of this. But anyway, welcome. I am super excited for our topic today. So for those of you who don't know me, maybe new to me, I'm Meg Wheeler. I'm a former CPA turned business and financial coach and educator. And today is a topic that I really love to talk about because it's frankly a topic that's so critically important to all of us being successful in our businesses. And that's talking about profits. It's funny. I obviously talk about money a lot in my business, right? And I get a lot of questions about bank accounts and how do I set up, what accounting system to use and how do I pay quarterly taxes? Do I need to pay quarterly taxes? All of that fun stuff. So I get those questions a lot. Those are pretty typical. But when I really drill down with people in my community and say, like, what are you really struggling? Like, what is your big roadblock here? By far, the biggest thing that people say is being profitable, is making money in my business. So that's why I wanted to come on and do this live today. And really, hey, Julie, thanks so much for joining. And really wanted to walk you through. It's funny, I think the post actually says 4 steps, but when I sat down to do this, I actually have 5 steps. So it's 5 steps or 5 things that you can focus on to make more profits in your business. And before we dive in, I just want to cover one thing really quickly, which is, I think, probably obvious to most people. But in case it's not, I just want to put it out there because it's really important when we're talking about profits. And that is that there is a difference between revenues and profits. So revenues are what you bring into your business. If someone comes and pays you $1,000 to manage their social media this month, $1,000 are revenues. That represents revenues, right? But then you have expenses. And so your profits, and actually, hold on, I'll go ahead and I'll throw this in the, on the screen. Your profits really are your revenues minus your expenses. So the reason why I talk about profits so much is because at the end of the day, I don't really care what your revenues are. I don't want to say I don't care at all. I do. We definitely want to know what your revenues are. We want to look at how they're growing. But at the end of the day, it's your profits that really matter, because you can have, this is the example I give a lot, you can have $1 million in revenues, but if you're spending $900,000 in Facebook ads to get those $1 million in revenues, you really only have a $100,000 business. Similarly, or kind of on the sort of converse side of that, if you've got $1 million in revenues, but you're only spending $500,000 to get that $1 million, well, now you have profits of $500,000. So both of those are $1 million businesses in the sense of how we talk about businesses. But one only has 100 grand in profits. The other one has 500 grand. There's a big difference there, right? So it's really, that's why I focus on profits. To me, that's more important to talk about. And let's be honest, especially in the online business space, so many people will say, oh, I have a 6-figure business or I'm a 7-figure entrepreneur. But what they're really talking about are their revenues, not their profits. And so it's a very deceiving mark to kind of use to evaluate the success of a business. And so that's why I like to focus on profits. So I've got 5 things today. Let me pull up my notes here. I want to make sure I cover everything and not get sidetracked, as I often do. So number 1 is actually kind of obvious and simple. And you're going to be like, okay, great. Yeah, I tried that. Doesn't work. So stick with me. We're going to talk about number 1. But I've got more coming. Again, we've got 5 ways that you can increase the profits in your business. So number 1 is to reduce your expenses. This is kind of like a duh one, right? But I bring this up because even for my clients or those in my community who are newer or who don't have a lot of money, and they feel like everything is really tight and their expenses are already pretty low because they don't have much more money to spend on other stuff. Even for those folks, reducing your expenses is possible. There actually are things that we can do. And so some of the things that I like to look at here is the first is to automate. I cannot tell you how many people I work with who they'll say, these are my expenses, I can't reduce them, I don't know what else to do. And then one of the things I'll look at and I'll say is, well, let's go beyond what's just written on paper. And let's think about how we can actually automate what you do so that you can free up your time. And what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the fact that your time is one of your expenses. We're going to talk a little bit in actually step number 3 about what you should specifically be focusing on as the business owner in your business. But before we get there, what I want you to understand here is that your time is an expense. Your time is an input into your business, and your time has value on it. Your time is not free. So if you have looked at your expenses and you say, I can't cut anything else, I've got it down to the bare minimum, there's nothing else I can do. What I also want you to look at is how much of your time are you spending to generate those revenues? And what you probably are going to find is that you're probably spending a lot of time doing things that you don't need to be doing, like those more admin related tasks, like things like social media or whatever, things that you could actually offload to a VA, to someone to help you, a virtual assistant, to someone to help you and support you in your business. And the way I always think about it is this, like, let's just say you value your time at $50 an hour. More likely than not, you'll be able to hire someone at $15 an hour or $20 an hour to do a lot of the tasks that you're doing. So think about it this way. If you had to pay yourself, I'm laughing as I'm saying this because you should be paying yourself, but if you had to pay yourself for the time you're spending in your business, like if you had to physically write a check right now for the next hour that you're going to spend in your business, if you had to write yourself a check for that $50. Is that the best use of that $50 for you to do your accounting, or for you to create those social media posts, or for you to, be organizing your email? No. You could be paying someone. I'd rather pay someone $15 to do that than pay someone $50, right? So I want you to think about it that way. And that's one way that you can reduce your expenses. So thinking about so the first thing in this is thinking about how you can automate those expenses. Are there systems or tools or software that you can put into place that really allow you to hand it off completely? I have so many things automated in my business. When people sign up for my email list, or when people buy my course, or they join my membership, so much of those next pieces that happen, the emails they get, the access that they get to certain things, that's all automated, so that no one on my team has to do that, because it's so much cheaper to automate it than it is for me to have someone, whether it's me or another person on my team, do all of that work. So that's number 1, is think about how you can automate. The second is delegate, which I kind of already talked about when I talked about I'd rather pay someone $15 an hour than myself $50 an hour to do some of these tasks. So can you bring on someone to help? I have a team right now with 2 people. I'm not a huge business. I have a content manager who runs my Facebook group, which you may be watching this in right now. And I have a VA who does a lot of work for me. And let me just tell you, the stuff she takes off my plate is huge, so that I can focus on being the visionary of my business. I can focus on showing up in this way. I can focus on serving my clients and my community. Those are things I can't offload as easily. And so she really enables me to do that. So that's another way that I'm able to be more profitable, is because I'm able to get more from my time that I put into my business. Now, along those lines, I recommend you actually track your time for a bit and see how you're spending your time. This was eye-opening for me when I did this in my business. It was about a year ago now that I did it, but it was eye-opening how much time I was wasting on stuff that I did not need to be doing. And I'll tell you the reason it was partly because I thought I couldn't afford somebody. That was a big piece of it. But another big piece of it was, honestly, I was just overwhelmed by the thought of bringing someone on and teaching them what I do. I was like, oh, it's going to take me so much time to onboard somebody. And, I'll tell you, I just brought on a new VA who's full-time. She's full-time. I've never had a full-time VA before. And I candidly she's not fully working full-time right now because I haven't given her enough stuff to fill that time yet, because I'm still figuring out what I can offload to her. But you know what? I'm okay with that, because I know how much she's already taken off my plate. I know how much she's going to continue to take off my plate. And I know we're going to get there. And so I'm taking the time in my business to actually move that stuff over to her, to delegate those tasks over to her. And it's having a huge return on my business, because it's really allowing me to be able to show up. And look, when I show up is one of the ways in which I make profits in my business, not just revenues, but profits. So I would really encourage you to think about that. I also recommend you regularly reevaluate your expenses. If you've been on one of my master classes or through my course, Biz Money Blueprint, you may know of the example I give. This was one of my very first clients who I ever worked with one-on-one. And she came in and she said, she had a bunch of money issues, wasn't profitable. The first thing we did was look at her numbers from her accounting system, and it literally took about 10 or 15 minutes. And we realized she was actually spending $300 every single month that she didn't need to be spending on tools, software, memberships, whatever it was, that she wasn't even using. And part of the reason was because she would just put everything on her credit card, and then she would pay the credit card bill. She wouldn't look at it because she didn't want to look at it. She didn't want to face whatever she'd spend her money on. It was too much for her. But because she didn't face it, she was wasting $300 every month. So by simply reviewing her expenses, we were able to cut $3,600 a year. That's a huge amount of money right there, right? So if you're not profitable, or you're not as profitable as you want to be, make sure that you are regularly reviewing those expenses to ensure that you are actually using your money in the best way possible. Cool? All right, so I'm going to give you an action step. In fact, I'm going to give you an action step for each of the 5 things I talk about today. You don't have to do all 5 action steps. If there's an area that I talk about where you're like, yeah, I feel like I might be able to make some progress there, then just do this action step and just focus on the one, or write all 5 down, do all 5, or do one, come back and do the next and move through it like that. So the action step for reducing your expenses is organize your business expenses from the last 3 months. And I want you to group them into 3 categories. Absolutely necessary, nice to have, could live without. And the example I always give here is absolutely necessary would be something like my business insurance, right? It's something I need to have. I'm not willing to take on the risk of not having insurance in case something happens. Nice to have, the example I give is Kajabi, my course platform. I have a course and I have a membership. I could do those things on cheaper options. I could have the membership just be on Facebook. I could have the course just live on my website. I choose to pay $130 a month for Kajabi because it makes things so much easier. It allows me to automate so much. It really frees up my time. It's not a necessity. I could do it without Kajabi, but it's really nice to have. And then could live without, I've had these things over, I'm like, I'm not going to name the one I'm in right now, but I'm in a membership right now, a social media membership. And for those who follow me and know that I love Tyler J. McCall and follower to fan, it's not follower to fan. So I want to be clear, I'm not talking about follower to fan. But I'm in a social media membership right now that I'm kind of like, I'm not really using it. It's not really benefiting me. That definitely goes in my could live without pile. And it actually is something that I've paid through a few months, but it's something I've canceled after that already. So that's my action step for you for that one, is go through those expenses and group them into those 3 categories: absolutely necessary, nice to have, could live without, and get rid of those could live withouts. Pause them or cancel them completely. If you're nervous about canceling them, put them on pause and see how your business runs for a few months without them. And if no biggie, then get rid of them permanently. If it was stressful, then maybe they really weren't a could live without. Maybe they were a nice to have or an absolutely necessary. So that's my action item for you there. Okay, number two step you can take to boost your business profits. Check your pricing. Now, I know pricing is kind of a sensitive topic for a lot of people. People get really nervous about raising their pricing or charging too much. And there's this sort of motivation to discount when you feel like you're not making enough money, right? Which is actually the complete opposite of what you should be doing. But here's what I want you to realize. And I just want to look at my notes here to make sure yes, okay, perfect. So here's what I want you to realize. First of all, there are 3 ways to determine 3 general methods, I should say, to determine how to price something in a business. The first is the cost plus method. This is essentially taking the cost to create the item and then adding some kind of a margin on it. So cost plus 10, cost plus 20, whatever. And so if something costs $10 to make and you're doing cost plus 20%, then you would charge, what did I say, $10? So you would charge $12 for the item because you'd add that 20% buffer. That's a very basic way. I don't think that's the way that makes the most sense for those of us in the online business. That's more of a product-based business method, but it is one to put out there. The second is to look at kind of market pricing and your competitors' pricing. I think this is something that is probably a method that we should be paying attention to. It's not the only determinant of pricing. I want to be very clear here. Just because your competitors are charging X doesn't mean you should charge X. But I think it's a good place to start to get a sense for what people are charging in your marketplace. And then the last method is perceived value to the customer. So this method has nothing to do with what it actually costs you to create the offer or the product or the service. It has nothing to do with what the market would dictate you would charge. It really just has to do with what value your customer puts on it. So for example, if you have a service that will save your customer $5,000, then they may value your service at, $4,999, right? Because they're still making money if they pay that for your service, regardless of what it takes you to create that service. So I like to do kind of a combination of market/competitors and perceived value. And I basically like to start by looking at comparable pricing. I like to start by looking at what the market charges for the type of service that I provide. And then I adjust for me. And what I mean by that is I adjust for, and this could be up or down, adjust up or down, but I adjust for my experience, I adjust for my education, I adjust for my like additional skill sets if I've got, unique skill sets. So for example, a lot of people like to teach about the money in your business, but a lot of people aren't CPAs. They don't have the background I have. So I adjust up for that. I will also adjust for successes I have. If I've been in business for 10 years and I've had all these successes, then I can probably charge more than someone who's been in business for a year, right? So I adjust for me. And then from that, I like to essentially determine, if you will, an hourly rate. Excuse me. So what I mean by this is, let's just say that the market rate for coaching is $2,000 a month. And let's just say that I'm not going to adjust for me. I think that I'm in line with the market. And let's just say that coaching takes 10 hours a month, right? Well, right there, if I'm getting $2,000 a month, that hourly rate would then be $200 per hour, right? So that kind of gives me a sense of what my hourly rate would be. And I will say this, I always like to add in a little buffer. So the reason I do that, for example, I sell strategy calls. I sell strategy calls for $300 an hour. And someone might come in and say, well, how come you think that your hourly rate is $300? Well, actually, my hourly rate isn't $300 when I value my own time. It's a little bit lower. It's about $250. But I add in a buffer because I know that when I get on that 1 hour strategy call with you, I know that there's work I'm going to do leading up to that call. I'm going to prep for that call. I'm going to read through whatever you send me. I'm going to do a little back and forth with you. And then I also know that after that call, I'm going to send you information as well. I'm going to send you any follow-up stuff. And so I build in a bit of a buffer for that because I know that 1 hour call isn't just 1 hour. So when you really narrow in on your pricing and you get a really good sense, not only for what you should be charging, but what you're putting in to what you offer, this is really going to help you be more profitable. Because one of the biggest mistakes I see business owners make in my community is that what they're charging isn't enough to cover all their expenses. And remember, time is an expense. So your time going into whatever it is you're offering is a really critical piece of the equation. And you need to understand what the value of that is. Cool. So the action step here, pretty simple. I want you to review your offers. Whatever your big offer is to your clients, I want you to review it. And I want you to actually calculate what you put in to create that. So if it's a service or if it's an educational product or whatever it may be, I want you to calculate the time that you put into that, plus any other expenses. And I want you to make sure that your pricing covers that, at least covers that, and then builds in a buffer so that you can actually be profitable. Cool? All right. Trick number 3, I don't want to call it trick. Step number 3 or method number 3 is to focus on ROI. So let's pull this baby up here. So ROI is return on investment. And this kind of goes into what I just talked about too. This all kind of links together. But ROI is really, for what I put in, what am I getting back? So what do I mean by this? Let's just say I make, I've got some Himalayan salt next to me. Don't ask why this is on my desk. But let's just say I make Himalayan salt. And so all of the materials to make this cost me, let's say 80 cents. And I sell it for $1. So my costs are 80 cents. My revenues are $1. So my profit on this Himalayan salt is 20 cents or 20%, right? So for every 80 cent, well, yeah. So let me say it this way. So for the $1 I take in, 80% of that, 80 cents goes to cover my costs. 20%, 20 cents goes towards profits. Now, when we're thinking about ROI, the way to think about this is for every 80 cents I put in, I'm going to get $1 back. meaning I'm going to get 20 cents of profit back, right? So that's my Himalayan salt. Now let's just say I also offer a service. Let's say I teach you how to make your own Himalayan salt. And let's just say I charge the same $1 for it to make things simple. But the only input now is my time. And let's say it doesn't take very much time at all. And so I'm going to say that it costs 40 cents for me to teach you how to make your own Himalayan salt. So you're still paying me the same dollar, but now my costs are only 40 cents, meaning 60 cents are my profits. So of the dollar I receive in revenues, 40%, 40 cents are expenses, are costs, and 60%, 60 cents are profits. So now if I look at my two scenarios, in the case of producing and selling Himalayan salt, I put in 80 cents and I get $1 back. In the case of teaching you how to make your own Himalayan salt, I put in 40 cents and I get $1 back. I would much rather take that deal, right? I'd much rather only put in 40 cents and get a full $1 back than have to put in 80 cents to get that full $1 back. So the reason I bring this up is because what you want to do is you want to look at everything you offer and say, what of my offers has the highest ROI? And if you have products or services or offers that have a lower ROI and you have some that have a higher ROI, then I would recommend focusing your time, your money, your energy on the ones that have that higher ROI, because I would always rather put less in to get the same or more back than put more in. And so the way we do this, and this is your action step, is to sit down and calculate your ROI for all of your offers. The example I've given many times before of this one is I have a client who had two products. So she had a course, $497, completely DIY. I don't think she showed up at all in the course when she bought it. And then she had group coaching, and I think that was about $2,000 a month. I'm sorry, one-on-one coaching. It was $2,000 a month. And I don't remember how much time, but she put a lot of time into that. It was, hours upon hours upon hours, and that took up a lot of her time. And when she came to me, she said, I feel really burned out and I just don't feel as profitable as I should be given how many clients I have. And she had a 6-figure business. She was making well into 6 figures. But she said, I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. And when we looked at it, she came to me thinking that her one-on-one coaching at $2,000 a month was her big money maker. It wasn't. Yes, it was her big revenue driver, but her profit margin on the one-on-one coaching, her return on investment for what she was putting in, what she was getting back, was really, really low because she was putting so many hours into that coaching versus her course, $497, pretty much the only expenses there. She was paying for Kajabi to host it, and she was paying for Facebook ads to get people into it. And so I forget the exact numbers, but I think her profit margin there was something like 90 or 95%. Basically, of the $497 she received, the majority of it, like 90 something percent, were profits. And so what she did was pretty simple. She focused more time and energy and money, particularly Facebook ads, into selling the course because it was such a big profit maker for her. She wanted to keep her one-on-one coaching, and that was fine, but she increased her price. She actually lowered what she contributed to it. And going back to our number one item, reduce your expenses, she actually delegated a lot of the stuff she was doing. She was doing a lot of client service stuff in that, delegated a lot of that to her team, which is obviously cheaper labor, so that the total cost of serving that one-on-one client went down considerably. So even though it was never going to have the same profit margin as the course, it was fulfilling work. She really enjoyed it, and it obviously brought her in, loyal raving fans, which has intrinsic value. But she was at least able to get those costs down quite a bit so that it was more profitable than it had been before. So that's why it's important to focus on your ROI. Okay, number 4, wrapping it up or getting close to wrapping it up. Number 4 is to focus on direct revenue generating tasks. This is a concept that I didn't truly understand my first year in business. And it really got sort of beat into me my second year of business when I said, I don't get it. I'm working my ass off. I am so tired. I work all the time. What am I doing wrong? I'm not making any money. And the biggest problem was when I sat down, and this goes back to this idea you should track your time for a little bit. When I sat down and tracked my time and then had someone I trust really talk to me about it, I realized that I was spending all of my time on activities that did not directly generate revenue. So What are some examples of activities that do not directly generate revenue? One example would be you're doing your accounting, doing your invoicing, doing your payroll, creating content for social media, or even engaging on social media to an extent. Administrative tasks, setting up calendars and booking appointments and responding to emails. These are all things that do not directly generate revenue. Now, you might be sitting there going, yes, but they're important. I need to do them in my business. Yeah, someone needs to do them. I'm not saying you should abandon them, but you do not need to do them. You should be focusing on the tasks that directly generate revenue. You should be focusing on the places in your business where only you can do that work. Excuse me. So for me, what this looks like is actually having client calls. I can't put my VA on the call with my client. They're not going to like that. That's not going to work. My VA doesn't have my expertise. So client calls is a direct revenue generating task. When I show up for a client call, I'm making money directly for that. Creating content in the sense of, and I'm not talking about the slides and putting everything together nicely or editing videos. I'm talking about actually brainstorming and coming up with the content and creating the content for my course, for my membership. That's something. Now, I want to be clear. Other people actually could help me with that. And as my business grows, they will. But that's a direct revenue generating task in a sense, because I'm creating something that someone's going to pay me money for directly. Okay. Showing up in my Facebook group and doing a Facebook Live about a promotion I have coming up. That's a direct revenue generating task. So if you focus on those tasks, I think you're going to find your profits are going to increase because you're really using your time wisely. Meanwhile, you're automating or delegating all of those other non-revenue generating tasks or indirectly revenue generating tasks, if you want to think about it that way. You're delegating those to either a person or to a process that's more affordable and less expensive. Let's see, what else did I want to say? Okay, no, that was it for that one. So action step. Make a list of all the tasks you do right now in your business. And you may find that it's helpful to track your time over the next couple of weeks and then create this list and group them either by directly generate revenue or indirectly generate revenue. And then what I want you to do is go through that entire list of tasks that indirectly generate revenue. And I want you to either mark them as, is this something I can automate? Is this something I can delegate? I guess I should have like that. Automate, delegate. Or is it something I have to do? And I'm going to tell you, the majority should not be you. The majority should be automating or delegating. And then I want you to do that. Cool? All right. We're going to wrap it up. Last one. I see we've got a bunch of folks watching live, by the way. Thank you for everyone who is here watching live. If you've got questions or comments, feel free to drop them into the comments. I'm happy to answer them before we wrap up. But we are on our last one, number 5, way that you can generate more profits in your business. And this is to focus on something that I call easy profits. Now, it's a little bit of a misnomer because let's be honest, I want to make this very clear. Running a business is not easy. You don't just get to show up and make money and that's the end of the day. So I do want to clarify that. But I do think that there are ways to make profits easier and there are ways to make profits harder. And I see so many people struggle and make it harder. They make things harder. So we're going to focus on easy profits. So when I talk about easy profits, there are 5 components to making profits easy. The first is to focus on profits that require minimal upfront input. So this could be minimal time, minimal materials, or resources. And so what do I mean by this? Well, for example, if I decided that I wanted to go make, $1,000 next week, I could do that in a bunch of different ways. One of the ways I could do that is I could create a whole brand new course. That would probably make me $1,000. But that's a lot of time. That's a lot of resources, right? Because I've got to create all the content. I've got to create all the graphics. I've got to come up with everything. So I'll probably make the $1,000, but will it be $1,000 in profits? Probably not, because I'll probably spend a lot of time to get that course and get that $1,000. On the flip side, I still want to make that same $1,000. I could take a workshop that I did for my membership group this month. In fact, I did a workshop for them on profits for my Badass Action Takers membership. We did a workshop on profits. I could take that. I could take the recording of it and I could sell that for $97 and sell it to 10 people and I'm done. And that probably takes me a grand total of maybe 30 minutes. In fact, probably takes me no time because it's the kind of thing I can actually have my team do for me. So I'll probably make that same $1,000, but I've had to put very little into it. So the first step in making easy profits is to choose things that have minimal upfront resources. Now, I want to be clear, this doesn't mean you should never create a course, or you should never do something that doesn't, or that requires all of that additional work. But if you're going to do it, I want you to do a couple of things. Number one, I don't want it to be the only thing you do in your business. I want you to have easy profit opportunities throughout the year, and then this is your big thing. And the second is I want you to consider selling it before you create it. I did this with my membership. I sold a founding member option. It was a lifetime membership option. It's never going to be offered again. It's already off the table, so don't get too excited. But it was a founding member option for a crazy, ridiculous price. But I said, look, I haven't created a week of this. So if you sign on today, you're trusting me. I'm asking you to put your faith in me. But you know what the great part was? Is I got enough members that it was worth it worth it to me to create it. And I didn't have to do really any work at all until I knew that. So I would consider that as well. So that's number one in easy profits. The second is to make it easy for people to pay you. I did a call once with a woman who was newer in business, and she was really struggling. And in fact, it was an intro call to see if we wanted to work together. And she said, I'm really struggling. I'm not making sales and I don't know what to do. And I had done a little research on her before this call. I always do. I like to check people's businesses out. And her business was actually pretty cool. I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to out her. But it was a product-based business. It was pretty cool. And it was a product where I was like, I would actually buy this. This is super cool. So I went on her website and I tried to buy it. I couldn't buy it anywhere. Lo and behold, and I learned this from talking to her, the way she sells her product at the time was she will post on Instagram what she has available, and you have to DM her. And then she will send you a link to PayPal to pay her, but it's not a business link. And so it's like this whole complicated process. And mind you, she's one person. She doesn't have a team, right? So you could DM her on Instagram and it could be 1 to 2 days before she gets you that link. So the biggest thing I told her was, you got to make it easy for people to pay you. It is not that expensive. It is not that hard to set up a payment system in this day and age. Make it easy for people to pay you, because even though I thought her product was awesome and I was super excited about it and I would have bought it on the spot, I didn't end up buying it. It was too complicated. I was like, forget it. I'm out. This is too much work. So make it easy for people to pay you. All right, number 3 in easy profits. Focus on existing clients, not new ones. Now, this doesn't mean that I think you should never try to bring in new clients. You absolutely should. But existing clients, if you do it right, it's easier and cheaper to keep existing clients than it is to earn new ones. And that's because it takes so much effort to get a new person to know who you are, to like you, to trust you, and then to buy from you. And that's just once, right? So with an existing client, you've already taken them through that process. Once they've seen how awesome you are and how life-changing your work is for them, they're going to say, hell yeah, to the next thing. In fact, when I brought on my founding members for my membership launch, I asked them to fill out a questionnaire so I knew exactly why they joined and how I could support them in the membership. And multiple people said, honestly, I don't even know exactly what the membership is or what it's going to do for me, or if it's going to help me, but you're awesome. And everything I've bought from you so far has been awesome and has helped me. So take my money. I know it'll be worth it, whatever it is. That's the benefit of focusing on your existing customers, is treating them like gold, treating them like the VIPs that they are. And it is so much easier to get them to come back and to spend more money with you than it is to bring on new customers. Okay, number 4 in easy profits is to lay the groundwork for future sales. What I mean by this is, don't just wake up tomorrow and decide, hey, I'm going to try to sell this. You should have been spending your time helping your people understand why what you have is the solution to their problems. I'll give you a great example. This is like, I'm pulling back the curtain. I'm telling you what we're about to do. In September of this year, I will once again be an affiliate for Amy Porterfield's Digital Course Academy. It's a course that I took and it changed my life. It changed my business. And I love being an affiliate for her because I really believe not only in Digital Course Academy and in Amy Porterfield herself, but I also believe in the life-changing power of having an online course for your business. But I'm not just going to wake up in early September and say, buy Digital Course Academy, it's going to be great. We'll be spending all of August talking about how having an online course business is huge, talking about the benefits of that, talking about who is right for transitioning to an online course business or incorporating that in, talking about when is the right time in your business to do that, overcoming all of the objections that people might have to buying Digital Course Academy, and also helping people understand the possibility of having an online course in your business. So I'm laying the groundwork for these future sales now, because that's how, when I open the doors to, or when Amy opens the doors to Digital Course Academy and I open up my awesome bonuses that you'll get if you join Digital Course Academy through me, that is why people go, hell yes, I'm ready, because I've primed you to understand the benefit of what it is I'm going to offer. And the very last thing for easy profits, which ties perfectly into what I was just talking about with Digital Course Academy, is to focus on profits that are passive and recurring. So passive means you don't necessarily have to show up to make them happen. So non-passive would be one-on-one client work. Passive would be my online course. I don't have to show up for you to buy my online course, for you to take my online course. It's pre-recorded, it's already there. Passive is great because it allows you, even when you cannot show up live in your business, it allows you to still make money in your business. Passive income is a huge component, in my opinion, of growing a scalable and profitable business. If you haven't already, you're going to hear me talk a lot about it in this business, because I think it's so critically important. Even if you want to keep your product-based business or your service-based business aspects, totally fine. I'm not saying it has to be 100% passive, but passive income is critically important. And the other piece is recurring. And recurring goes back to this idea of focus on existing customers, not necessarily bringing in new ones. Again, recurring income. With my membership, I have income coming in every single month. With my course, I have a payment plan that's an option there. I have income coming in every single month. So things I sold a few months ago, I still have money coming in from those. And so that recurring income is great because it ensures that the money hits my bank account every month, even if I don't do a thing. Cool? All right. So the action step. Sorry, I forgot the action step for this one. So the action step for this one is to create one offer that meets the criteria of easy profits. I'll go through them one more time. And outline a plan to sell it in 30 days. So the criteria for easy profits: minimal upfront resources, such as time or money, something that makes it easy for people to pay you. They don't have to jump through hoops. Focus on existing clients, not new ones. Again, new people can buy it. It doesn't have to be limited to existing, but you're going to focus on your existing folks. Something where you're going to lay the groundwork for future sales. So if you're going to sell it in 30 days, you're going to start laying that groundwork now. And it's something that's passive and or reoccurring. It doesn't have to be both, but at least one of them. Now, let's recap really quickly the 5 ways that you can increase the profits in your business. The first is to reduce your expenses, and that doesn't just include hard expenses, it includes your time as well. The second is to check your pricing, make sure it's appropriate, make sure it's covering all of your costs, including your time. The third is to focus on your offers that have a higher ROI, return on investment. The fourth is to focus on direct revenue generating tasks and delegate or automate or offload your indirect revenue generating tasks. And the last is to focus on making easy profits. All right, I don't see any questions or comments that I need to address at this point. So I hope that was super helpful for everybody. I truly, truly believe that it is not rocket science to make profits in your business. I believe that you all are completely capable of doing this. Oh, hold on. It's like, how do I do this? There we go. And for that reason, I think you will really love my membership. So my membership is Badass Action Takers. It is not currently open right now. You cannot join it right now. We've already got an awesome crew in there that joined in the founding member launch, but I will be reopening the doors at the end of July, at the end of this month. And like I did last time, if you are on the wait list for the membership, you are going to get a super special treat whether or not you join. So literally there's no reason why you should not join the waitlist. To join the waitlist, head to megkwheeler.com/action. I can never say that right. You'll get on the waitlist. You will get the super special treat when I send it out right before I open the doors to Badass Action Takers. And again, you do not have to join, but I promise you it's going to be worth being on this waitlist because you're going to get something super valuable that I'm not offering to anyone else. You're going to get it. You don't have to join the membership, but you will also get something if you join the membership. So again, megkwheeler.com/action. That is the waitlist. Hop on it. You're going to be really glad you did. And I will see you all back here on Wednesday for our live Q&A only in the free Facebook group, Badass Moneymakers. So if you're not a member, hop on over there to join, and I will see you all then. Bye.